Well, let's imagine that this site slopes from the house footprint toward the back, and there's an area, a rather large raised area prior to the back boundary. The client has seen some walling of the type that they like, and so what we want to do is to put some arcs in to indicate the boundary of the walling. So I'm using the arc command here. If we hit the enter key first and then select the first arc that I drew, you can see it there. The second arc is a shorter one. There's the next two arcs. So this is a series of arcs running through here which will delineate the approximate shape of the new retaining wall, and we may well have a series of walls, as you see here, depending on the slope and the amount of cut that needs to be put into the site and fill behind that wall. What I want to illustrate is that if you pick the arc command and the continue option, the arc command continues on from the last arc, so I'm able to move around and get the sort of shape that I want. I could come back in that direction, but I think an arc somewhat like that, repeat the arc and come here, and we'll finish it up something like so. So we now have a series of arcs that could in fact be joined because they all have common start and end points. So let's select them all now. And then right click and join them. So from a series of arcs we now have one polyline. You could, if you wanted to, click onto these handles and tweak the curve if you required to. However, you might well choose to leave them as arcs, by the way, because then you can use a series of set out points. You can find the center of the arc, and then you can plot that boundary really quite easily. So let's undo and see whether our undo will get us back to individual arcs, and it will. What we might want to do now is to offset those arcs to make a wall, say, of 230 mil. Now what I won't do at the moment is to join those up as a polyline. If that was a single polyline or flexible line, you could do a single join and an offset. We'll see how we go with a modify offset. We'll pick this arc, right click, we've got a distance of 330 set, so we can pick our side, pick the next arc and come in here, next arc. Now, although this is a little more tedious than had we joined the polyline to form one entity and we could have offset in one go, it offers us the exit from there. It does offer us the possibility, if we should need to nominate these points here. We could even dimension so that we could get a string line or a series of lines accurately delineating that arc. You might decide that that's not what you want and that your construction team can satisfactorily create a shape such as this. The end of the arc could be extended quite easily by just clicking on it like so and bringing it out to close to that boundary. And you can see how I've got quite good control over the arc itself. So we now have a pair of compound arcs, if you like, which delineating the sort of shape that we're going to have. Now you may notice that the flat capping stone protrudes over the edge there, so you could in fact offset again and create that sort of impression. You also notice that this stoneworker quite likes to create small planting areas, and you could easily draw a line, and using the near option you could pick up one of those arcs from there, and I would put ortho on and I'd bring ortho across like so, and I just extend past the edge of that line. So there's a construction line there that could enclose that tree. Now, in my view, that's a little bit too close, so let's erase it and try again. Draw a line with that same nearest option, we come up a little further away and orthos on, come across through here, exit, and now we can use, if we pick modify and trim, we can pick this line here as a cutting edge, that arc as a cutting edge, and just trim off that little bit. And if we offset, modify, oops, just doing its backup, offset this line here, the 230 mil, we now have, and then we can do some more trimming. So let's modify, trim, that's the cutting edge, that one there, and that one there, and then knock off that piece there and that piece there. You might then prefer to leave that as we've got it, but now you can see that the plant, which should be showing above the line, is behind the line. So we can say Tools and Arrange to draw order. We can say bring to the front. Bring to the front and pick this object, and now the tree sits above the line work, which is going to represent one of these small enclosed areas. So we're starting to build the shape that we require for the rear garden. So we're building in the hardscape elements, if you like. If we have a view from the house straight out here with that tree as a focal point, provided the height of the capping on the wall, and I haven't drawn the capping in yet, is at seating height, you'll have a nice effect such as we see here. And we can do some planting in and around that tree, and we could then have another retaining wall back through this area. But I'd leave you to put that in much the same way as we put in the first of those. Remember, we have retained these as arcs, so we could find the centre of each arc to create that particular pattern.